Earlier this week, it was announced that there will be a rotation for the 2013-2014 season, taking effect on August 28th. It's going to be Next Destinies On, including promos from McDonald's Collection, Dragon Vault, and Black and White 33 and higher. So basically what we're saying is that we're not going to be allowed to use Black and White, Emerging Powers, Noble Victories, and the earlier Black and White promos in sanctioned tournaments. Cards that have been reprinted in legal sets will still be allowed. And if you want to take a look at the official announcement, I'll have the link in the description below. So in this video, I wanted to do an overview of some of the cards that we're going to be losing and how that's going to affect decks this upcoming season. First up, we have Kling Klang with the Shift Gear ability. While we still have Plasma Kling Klang that prevents damage done by EX Pokemon, Shift Gear Kling Klang is an essential part of just the general Kling Klang deck. Since this deck has no energy acceleration, you really needed that Shift Gear Kling Klang to be able to keep your energy on the field while using Max Potion to keep your Cobalions fully healed. With the loss of Shift Gear, unless we see some sort of metal energy acceleration or energy switch reprinted, Kling Klang decks probably aren't going to see much play. Gothitelle with the Magic Room ability was one of the few trainer lock cards in the format, and was certainly the best as shown by the Nationals' first place finish. However, with the new Virizion Genesect deck coming up, it was likely that Gothgore wasn't going to be a viable deck anyways since it prevents all status conditions with the attachment of Grass Energy. I do hope though that we'll get another Pokemon with a trainer lock ability since the new ones with trainer lock are only effects of attacks. Personally, I hope one that acts from the bench like our old Vileplume did. The biggest card that we lose with the format rotation is Eelektrik with the Dynamotor ability. While I'm happy to see this card finally rotate out, I'm really going to miss it. I had my best season in 2011-2012 and was running Eel variants for most of it. There are so many good Pokemon that could utilize Dynamotor like Zekrom, Zekrom EX, Raikou, Rayquaza, Mewtwo, and even other one-of techs like Terrakion. V-Create Victini was more of a tech card that was used in Ray Eels and Darkrai to counter Kling Klang decks. However, with the upcoming Genesect Virizion deck, we could really use another fire Pokemon that can easily one-shot Grass EXs. Victini with the Victory Star ability gave you the option of reflipping the results from your attack. This was more of a card seen in rogue decks like Vanillix and Scrafty. I personally never heard of it hitting a tier 1 deck, but it gave rogue players a much larger pool of cards to work with. Cobalion with the Iron Breaker attack got a lot of hype when it was first released, but it really only saw success in Four Corners. Now it also was teched into some Kling Klang decks, and occasionally found its way into a Durant deck, but it's not a necessary card by any means, and the format really isn't going to suffer without it. Durant with Devour had an entire deck that revolved just around running 4 Durant. It saw quite a bit of play during its time as it was a fairly simple deck to pick up and learn with, yet many players took it to a tier 1 level and it saw wins in many events. Personally, I'm happy to see this card go. I always felt bad when I played the deck since it prevented my opponent from using pretty much their entire deck, and I certainly wasn't having fun when I was on the other side of it either. The Litwick promo with the Call for Family attack is another card that I'm really going to miss. We haven't seen much from Chandelure decks recently, but I remember having a blast playing Chandelure Vileplume back in 2011. This Litwick was essential for getting your bench full and getting it full quick. With a new Fire Chandelure that can search out and attach energy as its ability, it's a shame to lose the Call for Family Litwick. Now I'm going to take a look at some of the trainers that we're going to be losing. First up is Energy Retrieval. Now that we have superior energy retrieval, this isn't really a big loss. For a while, I did like to run split lines of superior and regular retrieval in Blastoise, but eventually found that it was much more consistent to just run superior. Energy Switch is one that I'm really hoping for a reprint in a future set. Japan saw it reprinted in Battle Boost, so we have a good chance of seeing it in Plasma Freeze or a later set. It allowed many decks to run well, like Darkrai variants without Hydreigon and Ho-Oh. It was also easily teched into decks that didn't have any kind of energy acceleration, so it really would be a shame to take this out of the pool. Pokemon Communication is another card that I really want to see a reprint of. Right now our format is completely reliant on the ball system, Heavy Ball, Level Ball, Ultra Ball. Communication is great for decks that run higher numbers of Pokemon like Empoleon, Gothgore, simply because it's a guaranteed way of getting any Pokemon you want in your hand, rather than having to worry about conditions like Heavy Ball or Level Ball with HP or retreat costs, or having to discard resources. Super Scoop Up has been reprinted so many times throughout the years that I'm sure it's going to come back, but for now I'm happy to see it go. I personally don't like cards that put more of a luck factor into the game, and Super Scoop Up is definitely one of them. A game where you hit 4 heads versus 4 tails is substantially different. I'm happy to see Crushing Hammer go as well, for pretty much the same reason as Super Scoop Up. It makes the game just too reliant on luck rather than skill. However, we do still have Enhanced Hammers, which get rid of special energy, so that'll help keep some of the Plasma decks in check. Pokédex was a card that really was only played in combination with Ether, and even then it didn't run that well. I still think that the Ether Dex engine has some potential, but it never really found the right Pokémon to run with it. Plus Power is another card that we've seen throughout the years, and so I'm sure it'll come back, but for now, Hypnotoxic Laser is a significantly better card if you just want to do 10 extra damage. The only benefit of Plus Power over Laser is that you can stack multiple Plus Power to hit that perfect KO number. There are a few other cards that saw occasional play that we're going to be losing: Full Heal, Revive, Recycle, X-Transceiver, and Victory Cup, but none were staples in consistent Tier 1 decks, so they won't be terribly missed. It's likely that we'll be seeing some of them, or cards with similar effects, in the future. There's lots of cards that I haven't gone over that some of you may think are rotated out, like Pokemon Catcher, but since they were reprinted in later sets, usually as shinies, or as promos, they're still allowed. Many cards have also been reprinted in Japan's recent set Battle Boost, like Energy Switch, so there's still a possibility that we might get the reprints as well and be allowed to use them. Personally, I don't think this year's rotation was enough to warrant doing one at all. Eels is really the only deck that would see quite a bit of play, and obviously won't anymore. We still have a huge pool of cards to work with without seeing any major change in the way games are being played. For example, if Dark Explorers had been rotated, Catcher would have been rotated as well. This would have been a huge move, because Stage 2 decks that are typically slower would have been safe to play, because your bench would have been safe. Unfortunately, though, this didn't happen, so we're still stuck with Catcher for at least another year. The other big announcement that came with this year's rotation is that next year, during the 2014-2015 season, a new style of tournaments will be happening, which will allow cards from all the black and white sets. No further details were released, but that does mean that it may be a good idea to hold on to your old black and white cards and not be so quick to sell. I hope everyone has enjoyed my 2013-2014 rotation overview, and will stay tuned for more TCG videos coming up.